watching every move we make. They don't even go to sleep. No, no, all night they stay awake. Tonight, me and my baby.
At the time in the studios of ZIZ Radio, just about 2 minutes down after the hour of 1 o'clock. It's a beautiful Tuesday afternoon. Coming up next, it's another edition, another session of Danger to Safety. You still can stay right where you are.
ZIZ Radio, entertaining the nation, enjoyed by the world.
Are you tired of Wi-Fi dead zones in your home? The Cable has the ultimate solution with our whole home Wi-Fi coverage. Say goodbye to frustrating signal drops and hello to seamless connectivity in every corner of your home. No more
Mom, my tablet's not working in my bedroom. My game is freezing, Daddy.
or WhatsApp calls dropping as you walk around the house. So many people struggle with dead zones and restricted Wi-Fi, and the Cable has the answer. Enjoy full blanket increased Wi-Fi coverage with installation in 48 hours or less. Whole home Wi-Fi coverage is here. Get the whole family connected today. Come in or call the Cable at 465-2588 to get your whole home Wi-Fi boost installed. The Cable, always giving you more. Terms and conditions apply.
The National Emergency Management Agency's NEMA flagship program From Danger to Safety is back this hurricane season. Tune in every other Tuesday from 1 to 1:30 in the afternoon on ZIZ. Join us live as NEMA partners and subcommittee reps discuss their roles before, during, and after disasters. Get essential disaster preparedness tips, and for the first time, interact live by calling in with your questions and comments. Tune in every other Tuesday to From Danger to Safety, live on ZIZ Radio, Facebook, and YouTube, with a rebroadcast on ZIZ Television at 8 o'clock in the evening. Don't miss it.
This afternoon for this edition of From Danger to Safety, brought to you by the National Emergency Management Agency, affectionately called NEMA. My name is Jacqueline Bryan. I'm the Public Relations at NEMA, and I am your host for today. I'm so happy to be here. I'm so happy to have you join me, and I'm so happy to have our guest, Miss Azilla Clarke. She's the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Social Development and Gender Affairs, but should I say equally important? Equally important because it is a national role. She chairs the Welfare, Relief Supplies and Shelter Management National Subcommittee. And you might be familiar with the subcommittees. We've had the chair of 2 subcommittees join us here on From Danger to Safety so far. And these subcommittees, there are 10 of them, are very instrumental in coordinating, helping NEMA to coordinate the national response to disasters, as well as preparation for any disasters we might experience. So welcome, Ms. Clarke, to From Danger to Safety. We are happy to have you. Her committee is a very, very serious one. There's a lot of pressure on her and her team every year, she can tell you. And I couldn't see us bringing this series to a close without this committee being represented. Because I think it's important for us to understand what they do, what they're responsible for, what some of the challenges are, and how we can help them and make their job easier. So, Ms. Clarke, how are you feeling today?
I'm well, Jackie, thank you. And good afternoon to all of the listeners and eventual viewers of this program.
Thank you. Tell us about your committee and what it is responsible for.
Certainly. The Welfare, Relief Supplies and Shelter Management Committee, as the name states, is really 3 distinct functions within a subcommittee. So the Welfare Subcommittee deals with The welfare component of the subcommittee deals with ensuring that vulnerable persons and households can be so identified and protected during all forms of disaster. Our relief supplies component speaks to when donor agencies would be assisting in our response after a storm, ensuring that those relief supplies arrive on island, are so inventoried, and then provided to the affected individuals, households, and communities. And then the shelter management component of the subcommittee ensures that it's now becoming more of a practice that prior to a storm, at least one shelter in each district is opened. So the shelter committee ensures that these emergency shelters are maintained and properly manned to provide shelter for persons whose residents may not be able to withstand the impending disaster.
So when we talk about ensuring you have proper shelter when a storm is coming, it would include making sure not only your own house is prepared for impact, but that you know where the shelters are and how you will access them if you have to. So what is involved in the work you have to do and when you're preparing for a disaster?
Certainly. So on the welfare end, we coordinate with all public and private sector entities that take care of vulnerable populations. The church, constituency empowerment, youth empowerment, aging and disabilities, us. And so we're able to pool our various databases and data capture on who the vulnerable are to ensure that based on the trajectory of any disaster or intended impact area, we're able to do some pre-identifications to be able to say, okay, if this hits here, we know that these persons may be in need of relocation or services and support. And so we try very much to deploy the teams within there to check on them, make sure that they are taken care of and done. So we also have some that are state-owned entities, or state-owned collaborators, the Children's Home, New Horizons, Cardin Home, and others where people are in the care of the state or state-owned entities or state collaborators, and we make sure that they are prepared as well. Relief supplies, we don't have much before, but definitely we make sure we collaborate, we work alongside NEMA to make sure that the warehouse is as such. We receive training on the deployment of tools to be able to ensure that the items, once they land at R&B or at the seaport, they can make it safely to their destination. Shelter management, as indicated, now that's a lot. Ensuring that the centers are identified. That's, I know the public has quite a lot of comments on how soon, leading up to especially a hurricane season, they're aware of what shelters are in their areas. But we make sure that the identified shelter in the area, and depending on the districts, there may be one or two open, because particularly number 6 and number 8 are very large. And so we don't expect somebody from Keon to run to St. Peter's and vice versa, or Harris's to run down to St. Paul's and vice versa. So we try our best to open within there, and we make sure that there are volunteers that man the center during the storm. Mm-hmm. And I take this opportunity to, as always, express our deepest appreciation to the district volunteers, because nobody understands what it is like leaving your home, the structure, your family, to go and do this national service and to sleep through a storm. We ensure that there are as much comfort as can be provided, a comfortable place to sleep, non-perishable items, water, sanitation stuff, to make sure that for the individual and anybody that comes. Because previously, while it used to be said that, you're shelter at home or you're shelter with families, we all are aware of the challenges with those. So some persons have to come into the public shelter. Some are not able to pack anything when they come, but they have a right to eat and be watered. And so we make sure that there are at least provisions within there, because luckily, knocking all the wood around, our storms do not stay around for an extended period. So they're normally out within the 72-hour period, passing on, and then therefore we can do our various assessments and operationalize for what happens after the storm for persons in need of shelter.
So we know that disasters can happen at any time, anywhere. Mm-hmm. However, in St. Kitts and Nevis, fortunately, where hurricanes are concerned, there's a particular time of year when they are expected, and so we can prepare for that time of year. With regards to carrying out your mandate and meeting deadlines, what are some of the main challenges you encounter in preparing for the hurricane season?
Certainly, I will name two for now. Definitely the digitization of that information. We all have our various data sets and modes of collecting data, but our dream is to be able to create a vulnerability map for which all entities can enter information on persons, and along with the geographic vulnerabilities, where it's prone to flooding, landslides, etc., we can then be able to better project impacted areas and be responsive to them. For now, though, we check on persons and say, this storm is coming, you're in an affected area, your house is not good, would you like to move? Persons still have the choice to remain. But we'll definitely like to be able to get ahead of it more to do so. And secondly, volunteerism. Outside of our state entities but as part of our work, the welfare and the shelter management, the welfare and the relief may come into play. That shelter management is definitely human service, and we would definitely like to have a lot more volunteers. I know some people have a view of the past. They put me to sleep on a cot with just a fluffy blanket. We've improved to a degree. The accommodations there, but don't expect any hotel-like accommodations, please. But we have improved what is offered to make sure that the person there is comfortable, because as stated, it is a lot to leave your home, the structure and the family bonds, and trusting that when the all clear is given, you will have a structure to return to. That's a lot of trust and faith. So there's a lot of that. So we'd very much like to be able to enhance the volunteerism that goes with our shelter management component, having persons come on board, because these district teams do a lot of work in advance of the storm. The cutting of trees, coordinating for tree cutting around lines, gut clearing, all sorts of things they do. And the more people that can get involved in shoring up their communities, the better we can be in our response.
Okay, fantastic. Well, that's a lot.
I know.
It is, and so hopefully people can get a better appreciation for what it is you're doing. Now, before we move on to the second half of the questions, there's something you said about it has become customary to have one community center open in each district, well, with the exception of maybe 8, which is very large. And why is that?
Because, again, both the family structures have been challenged, so you don't. Previously, it used to be either shelter at home or shelter with family and friends. Those relationships are becoming quite tense in St. Kitts and Nevis. There are some that do not have that support system for whatever reason. Secondly, I've always learned that, your home is your greatest investment outside of your education. Because that's a 30-year agreement you're bound to be able to do so. But we really have to do work on helping people to shore that up. As a female owner of a home, I had to learn a lot. Like, okay, how long does my septic last? How long does my soakaway last? How long my roof last? And then being able to make the checks necessary to do so. Because persons have structural challenges to their homes that don't make it available for them to stay. We've had these discussions with Human Settlements around a rental policy, because what people are renting and charging for rent, those quality of buildings are not intact. And so we need to do work on these things, because a person should be comfortable. Anything past a 3, we all pray. No matter how big a full concrete roof, you're probably less praying than me with shingles. But throughout it all, at some point, depending on the gravity, we all know that we will be damaged. But at least there should be some level of surety between tropical wave, tropical storm, and hurricanes up to perhaps level category 3, where you should be comforted being home still. But there are challenges within that, and so the state accepts its responsibility to provide safety in times of disaster.
We got a question via WhatsApp about vulnerable groups.
Yes.
And they wanted to know, how are we able to know who they are and assist them during the
Very good question. So again, there are key state agencies who has a responsibility to collect information. But I want Kittitians and divisions to really be comforted in sharing that information. Especially, I mean, we know the typical ones are seniors or persons with disabilities, those with any mental or learning disability, because as we always say in our ministry on the area of child protection, every child in the Federation is shared with the parent and the state. Well, I say it's ours, but I mean, you all give birth to them, so I can't say that. It's shared with the state, and so we would want for persons to feel comfortable registering with the various entities. So if you're a senior citizen, register with the Ministry of Youth, Aging and Disability. If you're a person with disability, do so. Our ministry come in contact with them through our social protection programs that we offer, and then Constituency Empowerment has officers that walk around their communities and engage. So definitely be registered. Let somebody know who you are, and so therefore you can be on what we hope to eventually build out as the vulnerability map.
Well, having said that, making reference to the map, the question also came about, is there a database? Is there a database in which we have all of these persons listed so that no matter who's at the helm of any committee or administration or department, that this information
we're getting there with our meeting of the welfare committee that came up. Sorry, we are supposed to be engaging with physical planning and the GIS department to be able to digitize all of that information that we each have, because within our management information, our National Household Registry for Social Development, we're able to know where people are on the map because we have the GIS data. Some departments are still paper bound, so we want to be able to digitize all of that. So again, if a storm or a landslide or something is coming, we can literally draw around that area and pull it up and say, okay, how many children are in there? How many seniors, persons with disabilities, other issues, and so therefore get them services if they want to remain or be able to make provisions for them to leave. That
sounds ambitious.
I know. But we're committed.
Yes.
Digitization is everybody in any organization's goal because it simplifies processes and time management.
Well, just to let you know, if you have a question for Ms. Clarke that you'd like to ask, the number to call in live is 465-2555. That's 465-2555. You can also send a number to the NEMA WhatsApp number. That's 466-5100. I know it sounds like a landline, but it's actually what we use as our WhatsApp number. So you can send your messages there and questions or suggestions there as well. So 465-2555 if you want to call in live, or 466-5100 WhatsApp if you want to send a message there. We also have somebody who's monitoring our Facebook page if you want to send your questions via Facebook or Instagram. We've got you covered. So we are back now, and I want to also use this opportunity to thank the National Caribbean Insurance Company for coming on board as a sponsor. Thank you so much for making sure that From Danger to Safety can be live. I think it's the first time NEMA is doing it live, and we are so happy to be growing and evolving, especially where our communications unit is concerned. So thank you, NCI, for helping to make us make that a reality. So we continue, and we are about halfway through our conversation. Just a couple of other things we want to cover, which include, what can the public do to help make you and your committee's job a little easier?
Yes, I will reiterate, register. Let somebody know where you are, because we'll also be surprised of these quarter developments that are coming around, persons adding on to their properties and persons don't know. On the one end, we appreciate multiple family properties, but somebody needs to know that everybody's in there for that. So not just tax purposes, but welfare purposes as well. And then, of course, volunteerism. Being able to be a part of the actions and steps needed to protect life, property, and just our way of life. Because as we've seen with the devastation that a hurricane, an earthquake, or a volcanic eruption can do, it is all encompassing. And we really do need for our people to come on board at every stage of it. So if you're not the one that can spend the couple nights in the center, volunteer in advance to clean out the drain closest to you so that water running can flow and not back up anything. Try not to dump do not litter, and dump in those thoroughways because they get clogged easily. Everybody along the Dong Road, stop it. I'm speaking for Mr. Body, stop it. To go down in those trenches is deep and scoop out all of that. So really, I'm doing our respective parts to be able to do so.
Okay, I think you touched already on what you're doing when a storm is approaching, right? And how you prepare for that. But if a storm is approaching, depending on the seriousness or the severity or how strong it is, what we call the National Emergency Operations Center, also called the NEOC, might be partially activated or fully activated. Either way, they always tell you, come prepared to sleep at NEMA.
Yes.
It's not always something that somebody is willing to do. And I think Miss Clarke has spent a couple of nights at NEMA.
I've done it. When I assume this position, I have a personal motto that I don't ask persons to do things that I wouldn't do. And so...
And and on that note, I want to say that I don't know how many permanent secretaries we've seen sleep at the NEOC, but I know for sure Miss Clarke has been there.
Yes. So I think it was a tropical storm last year. I took the opportunity to stay there. And so yes, I have a greater understanding and appreciation for those that leave their homes, because I have an adorable son who we are like, he's a COVID baby, so anybody who's raising COVID, they latch on.
Oh yeah.
And so any rain, any wind, he doesn't like it. But I have an excellent support system in his godparents, and so Auntie Wara took over from there. And so being able to be there, and just understanding how the system works, because again, while I understand everybody's desire to stay home, it is a risk and assessment based period, because when you are asked to evacuate or move, please do so, because the expectation that there will be persons to come and move you is not there. That's another reason why the centers are open early. So even if you think your house might not be too feral, go into shelter, because it's placing persons at risk to get that call to say, because the hotline is open all times, so persons can call in and report anything about their personal home, any flooding, anything that's happening around them, they take those. And so representatives of each committee is at the NEOC taking these reports and mobilizing manpower to be able to do so. I remember during the storm that passed this year, we had families that had to be evacuated during the storm, and that was people donning raincoats and to go and rescue them. And so we really need persons to do that level of assessment there. The coordination is fun. I mean, you have to make it what it is. It is a storm after all. I think some of the people that choose to be there, good old Mr. Gilbert, and others, make it fun for what it is, but we understand the seriousness of what we're there for.
Yes.
What persons don't appreciate is that, our advisories are like 2 o'clock in the morning. And when you storm chasing, it's like you one step long and then you go to sleep and crash out. Oh, no, that's not permissible. So those early morning wake-ups was amazing. Amazing to undertake, because your brain has to then click over and function. But again, as a systems person, once people understand what's happening, they could do so. But we do need the participation of the public to reduce threat and risk to responders.
Yes, because it's not easy getting those calls from someone who needs assistance during a storm. We also have to bear in mind the lives of the persons who will do the responding. And so that's very, very important. And who come to mind in particular are some people who live along the coastline and are going to be seriously affected by storm surge, people who have been asked to move. And of course, we know that your homes are very close to your hearts, and it's not easy to pack up your life and leave your home. So at least for that period, it's important to move. So we've pretty much covered most of the things we wanted to talk about. And having said all that you have said, what then would be your key takeaways for persons listening or viewing this program? What do you think they need to bear in mind moving forward?
Firstly, I would really like for our culture to get back to a sense of helping each other. The state will never abdicate its responsibility to provide shelter. But I think that we as a community can do more. to be able to look after just your neighbors and others. And building back that sense of support so everybody knows that they have a comfortable place to be during a storm. Secondly, it would have to be where you are in need of assistance as a senior person with disability, etc. Make sure that one of the state entities has you on their list. Because again, we are trying to fold it in to make sure that that database is applicable for all things. Not just because we were having a conversation with one of our consultants we had last week to be like, okay, how or many persons saw the response to Milton in Miami, where the person, I just paid my rent. Moving costs money. Gas, hotel, when I move, where am I going to go? And so making sure that there is support to persons in advance. In our ministry, we because we are the vulnerable the ministry that takes care of the most vulnerable persons, we make sure to supplement our clients, okay? You have enough food to get through the storm? Here, go and get an extra packet because we know these are challenges that you have. And then lastly, it's just about the volunteerism. I really, that's a challenging one for me as always because there's so much that needs to be done. And I think everybody has a role to play within the entire system, whether it's coordination or manpower or whatever it is, using your skills to do so because when storm hits, it doesn't know who you are. It doesn't care that I'm a permanent secretary. It doesn't care. It just is a system that moves through a geographic area and can demolish all of it. And so we need to do more on the front end. We know persons are going to respond afterwards, but how do we mitigate within there? And through volunteers, that would be good because a person I might get on the E and talk about registration. But the neighbor of the senior might be like, no, let me tell Miss Clarke and them about you. Even though you got me, if I'm to have you move in with me, at least I can let them know that, can I get an extra food basket to take care of this senior while she's with me during the storm? Because then if anything happens to her home, she's going to be with me or transition to a state entity for medium to long term while some repairs are undergoing. So I really need for us to think of it as a whole. It's our country, it's our people, and we should really be there for each other.
Well, on the note of volunteerism, just to be clear, is there a way for people to volunteer directly with a department in your ministry, or are you talking about volunteerism through the NEMA volunteers on the ground?
Right. I think it's at every level. Definitely, it's the role of everybody to be able to let us know who is close to you and around you. So we definitely have the department or the Ministry of Youth Empowerment, Aging and Disabilities. So if you know there's a senior citizen who lives alone and you're the only one that goes and comforts her, shop for her, etc., it'll be nice to let that person be known because even through registration of this one, the additional services that might come her way. All right. And so there's always to just call and indicate. If you know of anybody, we have our ministry email address. We have our various cell phone numbers that we provide for hotlines for child protection, gender, etc. Call any of them. All my staff know every phone call is answered, reported, and we get a response because we know persons need to reach out. But we definitely want the persons to encourage them to also join the district disaster team mechanism and being there at least to lend their support in whatever way to that mechanism because through that might open up other opportunities for volunteerism of different types.
So you could formally volunteer with one of these organizations, or you can just do the right thing as a good citizen and help to take care of your brothers and sisters in the community. Because really and truly, in a lot of countries, when disaster strikes, it's communities coming together to help each other.
Responders,
yes, that is how recovery starts. With friends and neighbors, relatives, just looking for each other, looking out for their neighborhoods and their neighbors. So that's one of the ways that you can volunteer if you don't want to formally sign up with an institution. Ms. Clarke, you've said so much. You and your committee do so much, and I hope people have a better appreciation for what it is you do, why you do it, and why you do it, how you do it.
Correct. Yes.
Because I know sometimes a lot of people question the system and why the system have to be like that, why it's not a little bit more simple. But on your end, at least, when you look at managing all that information and all those people and all the resources, you need it in a particular way. So I want to thank you so much. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you so much for joining us, for listening, and for sending in questions. We really appreciate it. I'm happy we were able to address the one about the vulnerable groups. I think it's a question we also got last year. I think we tend to get it whenever we have the hurricane season coming on, or maybe NEMA is doing a drill, and people will remember, well, hey, if a disaster did strike, what about these groups? So I'm happy you were here to tell people how we could look out for these groups and help your committee look out for these groups. I want to thank the National Caribbean Insurance for sponsoring the program, and I also want to thank Ronnie Rascal, who's holding the board, for facilitating us today. So enjoy the rest of your day, and look out for the rebroadcast Tuesday evening.